welcome back. I made an Enterprise spacesuit. Alright, so welcome back. My name is Chris. If you're new to my channel, be sure to like, subscribe, share the video out if you found it interesting or informative. In this video, I'm going to go over the Enterprise spacesuit that I made. I did make it a couple years ago. I'm just going to go over that whole process. I did have a very basic sewing machine, so it's kind of a miracle I was able to have this with this type of material, details to come out as well as they did. So the first thing I want to go over, let's start with the first thing I decided to tackle when I first made this, which is the undersuit jumpsuit. So I'm going to take off all the hard bits. So here you see the jumpsuit all by itself. What I did was I found a very basic sewing pattern in Joann's Fabrics for just a regular male size jumpsuit. Then I proceeded to cut it out of muslin, make it to my size, fit it to me. I knew this fabric wasn't going to be very stretchy, so I kind of went a little bit bigger than I normally would, especially on one of those TNG spacesuits or TNG uniforms. With this, I started with a muslin base, and once I got the sizing right, I cut everything out and then I put it together. And then from there, once I had it all situated on the mannequin, probably this specific one, I kind of wanted to mark out where all these details are going to go. So there's two different type of materials. There's the silver, kind of glossy. It's a polyurethane coated fabric. On the show they used, it was a polyurethane coated fabric as well, but theirs had a elasticity to it. I did find the actual manufacturer that made it for the show. I did contact them a few years ago. They sent me some samples. It had a very similar sheen, but the color didn't seem right to me. I had the costume card from the show that has the swatches, and I compared it to that, and that's how I knew it was definitely not the same fabric. It had more of a gold tint to it than a copper. This one goes a little more copper than it really was, but overall I like this aesthetic better, although it would have been nice to have elastic, stretchy fabric. This was probably for upholstery, but it was the same polyurethane coated fabric. This was just packed on a very stiff upholstery kind of fabric, so you kind of still get that kind of look, the sheen and all that kind of stuff. As for the gray parts, there was a specific type of sheen to it. It had a kind of a ribbed type of texture to it. My initial thought was I would just get some nice gray fabric and just sew a bunch of lines in it to give that effect. Then I thought, well, couldn't really find much. Then I went to Joann's, which is usually not my go-to for fabrics. They've good solid stuff, just for specific esoteric type of things like jumbo spandex, the mustard color. You're not going to find that there. So I kind of went there and it wasn't really hoping for much, but I got lucky because there's a Ya line. I came across this. I bought enough for one jumpsuit. Probably should have bought the remainder of that because that one was definitely discontinued when I went to go back a year later. It was all gone. I do have swatches for very close on each. I wasn't looking for 100% screen accuracy. I mean, I did. This fabric, I tried to find this again. I kept all the information, and that is no longer available either. So anyone who would want to make one themselves are either going to have to research an alternative or reach out to the manufacturer and get that more gold version of this and work with that. As for the gray, I've been searching for, that's for the basic construction. We have these these raised details. I read that they were because of the stretchiness of the fabric and that it was polyurethane. They actually vacuum formed the actual fabric to have these raised details that look like they're interwoven, kind of like spacesuit functioning things, I guess, as best you could say. So I realized I couldn't do that. I don't have any expertise in vacuum forming plastic or fabric for that matter. So what I did was, since this fabric doesn't stretch, what I did do is I started with prototyping and testing it out. Foam dowels and foam pieces, and I made it look as close as I could to the one that we saw on the screen. And then I would use contact cement for the one side and put it on the other side, and then kind of press fit it so it held its shape along the foam there. And it turned out pretty great. And then I just sewed them right onto the jumpsuit in spots where I thought they matched up to where the show was. Next up, we have the boots. These are just regular store-bought, side zip, military-esque type of boots, just plain black. I picked comfortable ones. All I was going to use them is. So here's the jumpsuit without any of the hard pieces on it. As you can see, it does have that look. Boots. These are regular masking tape pattern. Taped over it, drew out all where I wanted my seam lines and where I wanted all the detailing to go, and then I cut it out. Cut the pieces out of fabric. I actually used foam dowels in here to get that raised detail effect. And then once I had the essential boot covers completed, all I did was hot glue them around the edge, and they hold up much better than you think. It has been 2 or 3 years since these were completed. And I've brought them to, I think, 4 or 5 different cities and on planes. I've driven them, worn them at conventions for hours, and they've held up pretty well. I haven't had to repair those at all. Now, moving on to the next bit, these knee pads here are kind of similar to what I did to the raised detail on the chest here and the arms, and then the side of the legs here. I kind of just used foam. I put a little bit of raised detail on the foam, contact cement, and then attached that, and then sewed around the edge, and then used that as a piece onto the jumpsuit itself. And that's pretty much all the raised detail. This top piece for the gray fabric was an actual afterthought. I had made the jumpsuit, this wasn't here, and then I went to rewatch the In a Mirror Darkly episode where they had these without all the hard pieces, and I noticed this detail here. And then the gloves, these were my first time ever making gloves. Obviously this isn't the first version of the glove. I think I might have pictures. I used a sample fabric to do. I definitely went a little too close to my size, the gray color. That does stretch, but the rest of it does not. I have a tear here from me, getting in and out of it, and it's squeezing on my arm, and I kind of had no choice but to, pull it off. I did hand sew an elastic fabric underneath, so it does have a little more give now. This was my first attempt at making gloves. I think they came out alright. On the one difference on the show is the sleeves went over the gloves, and this would have been on here, but I thought it would be easier and better for me to get in and out of if this went around it. So I had added Velcro on the inside and the outside here, so when I put the glove on, stick them there, and it stays in place. That's it for the gloves. Alright, so now we're gonna get into the pieces that everybody notices right away, the front and center pieces. I am actually more proficient at sewing and tailoring things at this point than I am foam work. I mean, it's a skill that does overlap quite a bit, and I do have some foam work under my belt as well, but I just nowhere near as the level that I got to here. But I decided to go with EVA foam, and I think these came out pretty solid for foam. I know in the show that they were vacuum formed over a solid buck. The one thing I did add to add a little structure and rigidity was Lazy Susan rings. I'm not remembering which ring was which, but I know these are from two different Lazy Susan rings. I had to cut one out. Either this was too big and the outer edge had to come off, and this is the outer of... In any case, there are two different rings here. I also put one on the bottom of the helmet. On the show, the helmet never attached completely. It was always separated by a black sleeve or curtain, so I kind of went with that. And it makes it easier. You can turn your head, you can tilt it. You're not stuck in place. As for the buttons on here, I just tried to find whatever buttons I could online. They all are functioning buttons, but they don't do anything, with the exception of these two. This one does light up, and this one, I had a friend do a soundboard that played the Enterprise theme. Unfortunately, I think that battery is dead at like loud conventions or, in a social setting. It was just too low to be heard. Like right now, you would be able to hear it, but these buttons don't do anything. I suppose I did leave the connectors open, so that if at any point I wanted to tackle and have them do more things, I could. Pretty lightweight. Most of the weight is in the aluminum rings. And also these little vents, these are electrical parts. So these are also metal, so they add a little bit of weight. These up here, these are plastic fittings, I believe. Insulated the back with foam so that it pushes against me and it gives that front center. The only thing would change on this, the scaling. I think I got it a little bit too big. Maybe I'd shrink it by 10 to 15%, because when I was making the pattern, I tried my best to account for the thickness of the foam, but it still was just a little bit bigger, a little wider in this axis, and overall it's just maybe 10% smaller and maybe 15%, less front to back. This was my first ever helmet. Actually, that's not true. I did do the first contact spacesuit. This one's a little bit more complicated than that one. Has a lot more details, as you can see. This is also out of foam. I added the lights in the side, and there's also a light in the thing to illuminate the face. These are just little tea lights that you stick in the candles. I put these in here. Like I said, 2002, I believe I made this. They are getting a little bit dim. I probably should. They are hot glued in there, but I think if I can get my hand in there, I can change the battery. I do have two fans in here. They more or less just keep the fog out of my face. It doesn't really cool me down too much. It is nice that this is a breathable fabric, and there's a little bit of breathability underneath the neck there. Pretty good. And I've been traveling. I have this giant crate type thing. It's probably built for like specialized equipment. It's protected this quite well. I've only had it gone through by TSA once, which is good. This is just a PETG. I think it's 040 for the just curved over. There's no compound curves. Like I said, I'm not proficient at vacuum forming. That's the helmet. The last piece here is the harness that goes through your legs, connects to the chest piece. I actually used real like nylon ribbing. I had to custom make it because I wanted to make it look like it did on the show. So these are real quick release clips. They're probably rated to actually be useful for safety equipment. Okay, this one goes around your waist. These two go here to here. and then these two clip to your chest piece there. I don't know how good my stitching is. I don't think this would really work so well in a safety situation. That's that all on together. I must say, of all the elaborate costumes I do have, this is probably the most comfortable one for me to wear. Helmet withstanding. Without the helmet, this is breathable. All these open holes, airflow is pretty good through here. This has zero breathability. The polyurethane doesn't breathe at all. I'm grateful for all these design details that give me some breathability. I'm gonna put this on. And here's the I did one thing to mention. This is just a shirt that I cut up and I added Velcro, so if I needed to remove this whole neck piece situation, I could, to wash it or whatnot. As for the labels on here, I did buy some high quality images that were done by an artist, and at the time I just used regular home printer and printed the highest resolution I could. Probably can upgrade that and do a little bit better. So I guess all that's left to do is for me to put this on, and I'll probably do that in a time lapse. So that wraps it up for the breakdown of me making the Enterprise EVA spacesuit. I do have another spacesuit, First Contact. I'm gonna probably do a similar video to that. If you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you wanna get notifications for new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.